Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV, and it's from LaToken. So today here we are with another topic and set of speakers to discuss about online gaming, media, and entertainment. Obviously, these three sectors, gaming, media, entertainment, obviously has changed a lot because of the close down and due to physical distancing, no travel, no conferences, no entertainment outside your home. So let's discuss about the trends for 2021 because it's very important for the startups to understand where should they direct their focus at. If you are in the space of media or entertainment or gaming, there are a lot of gaming startups that I get contacted every day. But just having a game which you used to have or you built in before 2020 probably is not going to give you what you're looking at. So let's discuss what's new in these sectors, gaming, because it's a very competitive space. Again, I see a lot happening in Southeast Asia, US, Japan, China, India, big markets for gaming. So how to be ahead of the competition? Let's just hear from our very experienced speakers who are going to share their insights about it. So before I start introducing them, I just would like to introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LaToken based here in Singapore. And obviously, you may know by now, I host VCTV every day at 8 p.m. Singapore time. Fantastic. So that's me and that's VCTV. Today, I have two speakers, Karthik Bhatt and Gary Fowler. I'm going to start with Karthik, who joins us from Dubai. Hi, Karthik. Welcome back on VCTV. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Sony, and episode number 70 for records. And it's an absolute pleasure to be with you once again. And about my background, I come in from the Middle East, represent a couple of family offices based out of UK and a venture fund based out of Saudi. I'm also on a panel of incubators that support growth of e-commerce and fintech startups. We're primarily invested in fintech, health tech, and edutech businesses, with a core idea and objective of democratizing them in the region and in Africa. Specifically about this industry and this business, I think the quantum of growth that the industry has seen in the last 3 months or maybe 6 or a year, I'm sure it hasn't seen in the last 10 years. Though online gaming and online entertainment was becoming a trend, but the pandemic accelerated it to a level that Netflix has seen a growth of around 7x in the region that I represent, both in terms of time online as well as subscription growth. So I think that they're here to stay. Gaming and entertainment is here to grow. So yeah, fabulous industry, Sunrise Investments, and a disclaimer that we're incubating 2 startups in this space in the region.
Sorry, did you say that you have incubated?
We are incubating 2 startups in the region at the moment.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Congratulations. Good news. Thank you, Karthik. Gary, over to you now with your short intro and background, please.
Yeah, sure. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies. I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing and write a lot. I've written 123 articles, 124 articles. Got one coming out today in Forbes, actually. I've done 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software that was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago to the time now. It's amazing. What else? GSD Venture Studios. I'm the CEO, president, co-founder of a premier AI and quantum venture studio that uses Silicon Valley as a port to take companies out to create unicorns. And people say that they want to be a unicorn, but a unicorn is a mythical creature. It doesn't exist. We make them real.
I really like that, Gary. Honestly, a mythical creature, make them real. Thank you. And welcome back on VCTV. Today, we're going to break the session into 3 different topics because online gaming, media, entertainment, obviously, even though they probably overlap somewhere, but let's try and keep it separate. Online gaming industry is growing leaps and bounds, which is not only benefiting the global giants who are taking advantage of the plethora of opportunities in the sector, but also startups, in this gaming development. The booming online gaming industry is mutually beneficial ecosystem for entrepreneurs, players, and gaming developers, providing them opportunities to satiate the lucrative appetite for online gaming. So I've lost Karthik now. So further, the pro- proliferation of smartphones, sorry, is significant contributor to the Swift. So Karthik is back again. I was
I'm
trying
telling you, it's premium. I'm telling you guys, every day it throws me off. But I'm back.
That's what I was trying to get you from the backstage to the front stage, and while trying to read, so just got stuck there. So,
It's
so yeah,
it's like a rabbit out of the hat. We keep disappearing and coming back.
yeah, exactly, back and forth. So yeah, so Karthik, let's start with the online gaming industry. So I mean, we all know gaming. Obviously in 2020, I think all of us, those even who didn't play any games, online games, started playing online games. So tell us, what's the trends looking like for 2021 and beyond for startups? I mean, this is a crowded space, as I always say and always see. It's a very crowded space. I see a startup every day in the space. How can they survive this competition? Let's start with you with your opening remarks, Karthik.
So the region that I represent is a social melting pot of the GCC, the Arab world. Now, the region is very, very socially evolved. And what started with an evolution, or with a revolution in Jordan, of a young Jordanian winning 5 million dirhams or $5 million as a e-sport gaming reward. Then we moved on to Iraq with a young guy winning around 1 million on NASCAR. A cards game rewarded a e-sport competition with around $800,000, has created an entire ecosystem of participation, multiplayer gaming platforms, or personalized gaming platforms vernacularly developed into the GCC, and games that were primarily played offline into their own arenas have now become a mainstay in the digital world. So cricket, soccer, hockey, football, or for that matter, even horse racing, equestrian games have now started moving on to the online space. What typically was an arcade-based industry has now moved into even a strategy and a multiplayer gaming industry, with PUBG being a prime example of that. And now PUBG is being vernacularized and regionalized in GCC in a very Arabic form. So industry over the last 2 years has gone through a lot of changes, but along with that, and I always maintain, it's not just the game or the gamer that matters. What necessarily matters is also the entire ancillary system that supports it. Telecom networks have graduated their entire infrastructure to a level that they are able to now support a 2 GB, 3 GB gaming platforms. Advertisers have now started making revenue out of in-game advertising and in-sport advertising. Every time you play a game, every 6 minutes, you have a 30-second spot that's bought by advertisers, and that generates massive revenue. In-app purchases, which used to contribute just about a percentage or two, is now up to around 18-20%. Every game necessarily creates a user to buy. Advertisers and sponsors and merchandise players, PUBG sells its merchandise through 28 stores in GCC. There are 28 PUBG stores in GCC, which necessarily talks about an industry being evolved. What European Premier League used to be, or for that matter, what ICC cricket used to be offline, is now becoming an online phenomenon with more players participating into it. So the industry is almost here to stay, and it is here to grow. But what has improved and what has changed in the last one and a half to 2 years is a lot of startups have started coming into this space to develop not only games, but to develop the entire service infrastructure around it. And people have started realizing that it's not just about creating a gaming platform or gaming ecosystem. It's about driving the economics and driving the revenue model of it. It's easy to create a game. You have a capex investment of $150,000 and you would be out in the market with a basic game. But how long have you thought? Have you created layers and versions of games? Have you created the roles through which revenue can be driven? Have you created a reason to keep your gamer engaged with you for a long time? Have you created advertising implications or advertising manifestations in the business? If yes, a lot of startups are here to grow. we are incubating a couple of startups. One is in the e-gaming, which is a card-based gaming business, and one is an e-chess, multiplayer e-chess platform that is being developed. The e-chess platform is a Saudi Arabian business. The card gaming is an Indian business. Both of them are typically in the early stage, seed plus stage, where we've invested around $800,000 to $1 million into them, and we are trying to see what returns come out.
So, Karthik, I rightly agree when you say it's a sunrise industry, but are these the big players who are, sort of overshadowing the startups, or do you, beyond outside of MENA region, do you see that a lot of startups are coming in this space?
It depends. It depends which side of the value chain are you in. You can never compete with somebody like an Electronics Art or a Tencent or a Rider or a 100x, because these guys have been in the business for last 15 to 20 years and they've created multiple successful platforms. But the investment and infrastructure that they create, Sony, are typically 50 to 100 million. What Will Smith invested was a 40 million gaming platform. What the Emir of Bahrain invested was a 30 million gaming platform with Tencent. Tencent acquired a stake in Electronics Art at a certain level. Now, these deals are for large platforms like a PUBG or a Call of Duty, or for that matter, even an NFL. But then there is always space for gaming platforms and ancillary industries around gaming platforms. In-app purchases. A game not only requires development, it requires gamification, rewards, it requires app, it requires marketing, it requires social media, and it requires collaboration with your telecom partners. So all these levels of the value chain are where a lot of startups are coming in. It's typically like you cannot have too many Mercedes Benzes, but you will have a lot of people who will supply into the Mercedes Benz through either tires, or will supply seat, or will supply a Velcro, or will supply a fragrance into it. And that's how you built it. That's how the industry grows around it. And electronic art doesn't become electronic art on its own. It grows when there are 50, 60 smaller players who feed into it. They will not deploy their programmers to code it. They will buy a code in a partly fixed form and then they curate it with their proprietary tools to make it a running game. And that's how it is.
Great points, Karthik. Totally agree about EA as an example just you shared. Thank you so much. Let's hear from Gary about his remarks and insights for 2021, starting with the gaming space.
Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot of changes. Obviously, a year into the pandemic, and now in California, a new version of it that's wider and more transmittable. So we've got some challenge ahead of us, which gives us the opportunity to be able to develop these games to another level. So think about it: more interactive games, mobile with 5G and now 6G coming out, the rise in esports, and more importantly, we got to think about responsible gaming. I mean, the challenge is people get addicted, right? As we start to utilize artificial intelligence to these games, we start to really, really create the addiction, not only as an individual, but the team. So now you're starting to see financial disclaimers and more responsible gaming that we had not seen before. The rise, it's amazing, right? And the pandemic has had a profound impact on it. But, the future is, how do we make it deeper, right? How do we make it more interesting? How do we make it more tailored to that individual? How do we make it more interesting for collaboration with the team? And that's what we're starting to see today. So, the beauty of it is, from my standpoint, is also, how do we take these gaming environments and turn them into learning experiences? Where's the real fusion, the intersection between gaming and education? How do we take these incredible games and turn them into something incredibly useful? Because now we look at it, and I call it this hybrid model. I think that part of the challenges we have had with education over the last year is, quite frankly, it's boring. So I'm excited about how we can tie these things together. So learning a foreign language, learning mathematics, how can we tie that into the games to make it interesting, useful? And that's so startups that are out there today, that's really, really exciting, and you're going to catch investors' attention. I like that area. Of course, esports and teams and the amount of money that can be won is, it's a new category and a new class. and it's being driven by the pandemic. But this digital transformation is not going to stop after the pandemic starts to slow down. We've created a trend during this digital transformation that's unprecedented, actually, across the board. So anyhow, I'm really interested in the intersection between gaming and education. Me personally, I really like that, and I'm going to, I'm going to actually write an article for Forbes about that particular area because it's untapped.
So, Gary, talking about responsible gaming, you just touched upon that particular topic. So more attention has been given to responsible gaming. Could you share, like, what exactly is responsible gaming and why has it taken a center stage in 2020?
Well, I mean, they're forced to do it, or they're going to be legislated against it. So they either do it, or we're going to have a lot of challenges, problems. So responsible means, you get kids going on a game and there's financial risks, and they put their parents' credit card on that particular game and start to use it. So, we either change the behavior, either the gamers come up with disclaimers and triggers that they can't get in, or they're going to be legislated out of it. It's just one way or another. Either you do it, or it's going to be done for you. And let me tell you, when it's legislated, nothing good's going to happen.
Great points. Absolutely. That's exactly what responsible gaming is for the audience who may not know what that was. Thank you so much, Gary. Karthik, talking about, let's just move to a little bit from gaming to media and entertainment. So again, media entertainment, like we did Zoom before, now we're doing StreamYard, even though you don't like it, but still, we are on StreamYard. So there are various, not only StreamYard, not only Zoom, there's so many likes of StreamYard is there, I guess. I'm sure there are. So did you think prior to 2020 that we'll be sitting like on a streaming platform like this and streaming live sessions, and people will be really interested to sit at their home and watch us speak about different topics? I never thought this is going to be possible before 2020. I'll be really outdoors. But I think 2020 and now 2021, this looks to me like a trend, because I get emails every day where there's a webinar and all happening online and live sessions. So taking that into account, what can you share more about this industry for 2021 and the startups? Where should should be focusing their attention at in this space? Thank you.
So I think a lot has changed in the last 1.5 years. And if I look at it this way, I used to travel typically 280 to 300 days in a year. And I haven't traveled for more than 400 days now. I haven't stepped out of my city. So it's changed the way I live. And while I'm happy with it, it obviously has a lot of withdrawal symptoms around it, and I can sense it. But more importantly, what has changed in the entire content media space is at two levels. One is about not only the content delivery, which is the platforms that deliver content, they have gone very hyper-personalized through a lot of algorithms, and so Gary would add a lot more to it. But what's also changed is the quality of content has changed of late. And if I see content that has moved in from a 3-hour content to a snackable 20-second content, today the most viewed content in the world is TikTok's content, which is typically an average of 16 seconds. It's about the delivery infrastructure. It's about vernacularity of the content. And more important, it's a user-generated content. So I don't see content being created by content curators. I see content being created by people like you and me. So and that also at some point, while it fulfills a very strong and a weird tendency called voyeurism, but at some point, it also allows us a slice of life experience in terms of what content do we want to see. A very strong trend that I notice of late is vernacularism, and it would be surprising that Netflix in Southeast Asia and Netflix in subcontinent India and Netflix in Middle East thrives on almost 50% of the content being vernacular, and they are compelled to do that because the viewing habits have changed. People prefer to look at, or people admire content which is more relevant to them socially, more relevant to them personally, more relevant to them geographically. Also, content which was broadcasted is now being narrowcasted on social platforms. So a lot of social sharing content is what has become relevant. If you see Facebook videos, after TikTok, Facebook videos, Instagram videos, and IGTVs, are the most preferred medium. Snapchat came in for a while and it went off primarily because of its geographical restrictions. So that's what changed. Content delivery and media delivery has changed drastically, Sony. I don't see what the world sees. I see what I want to see. And the new algorithm, I was talking to somebody at Netflix day before yesterday on a long call. And I was shocked that Netflix is building in a real-time hyper-personalization and a real-time censorship, which means, let's say, if I'm watching a movie with my kid, and if there is something, and if I address it as a family viewing session, I might watch an entire movie with objectionable scenes being real-time beeped or real-time blurred. Now that level of personalization is something that we haven't seen, which means if I'm living in a particular part of a world where certain religions, certain faiths, certain content cannot be viewed, the moment I put that on an objectionable barometer or objectionable appendix, the entire content is blurred while the movie is going on. So the content nobody's sitting at the back end to change it. It's a real-time algorithm that changes. So that level of personalization, Netflix algorithms on obviously collaborative filtering is globally acclaimed. But this kind of real-time personalization makes me see what I want to see. It identifies YouTube's algorithms of making sure that I listen to my prayers in the morning is commendable. Now that is what has changed. So the entertainment industry has not only moved from where it was to here in terms of content delivery, content type, and content regionalization are the three trends that I've been noticing. I see a lot of startups in this part of the world building it, especially vernacular content. It's an industry of its own where investments are minimal, content development is quick, and people who develop content are paid from both sides. Content developers pay and content curators pay. TikTok pays 20,000 dirhams to people who have more than 1 million fan bases. Now that's the kind of money that somebody would want to make. There are millionaires. TikTok stars have become millionaires. Snapchat stars have become millionaires. It's because their content is being consumed real time by people.
So talking about, sorry, go on, sir.
So these are the trends, and I see this trend continuing for some more time till the time people go back to a retro trend in terms of watching content or binge watching content. Binge watching in the pandemic was a big thing, but then people came off it very quickly. It's because people didn't have too much to do. But now, if you expect me to watch 7 episodes, 10 episodes of Suits or The Crown, I think it's going to be a challenge. I would rather prefer to do 30 minutes on TikTok before I see. So my attention span is reduced, and hence the quality content, the quantum of content and the snackable section has increased substantially.
So very rightly pointed out, Karthik. I mean, do you think these platforms, likes of TikTok and Twitch? I was actually Googling Twitch before I came on the show. They've introduced something called live chatting or something, So you can live interact with audience. A new feature on Twitch. So are they these players a competitor to Netflix? Because Netflix, as you rightly said, I don't have the patience to watch, say, 6-7 episodes of any show, actually. I don't have the time and patience. So these players, do you think they are a real competitor to the likes of Netflix?
I would look at it differently. The McDonald's has never been a challenge to fine dining, and Coke has never been a challenge to whiskey. That's the way I would look at it. It's always going to be a part of life. It's not going to be either or. At most,
unless you mix them together, then they're a lot better.
I look at it, Sony, as and not either or.
Right.
It's about how you're going to consume it. When TikTok primarily is an individual. TikTok and Snapchat are a very individual media consumption. I will not consume TikTok with my daughter or my son sitting around because I wouldn't know on my next swipe what is the content going to be. But if I'm watching a Crown or if I'm watching Suits, I might have my entire family sitting around because one's being watched on my handphone, one might be watched on my TV. I would never dare to watch TikTok on my TV. That's one. Second, I think while Netflix at some point is content, there have been a lot of antitrust cases that TikTok's been fighting on the endless feed, and I'm sure they've lost the battle twice, which is where they had to put the clock at the top, which is the what, to make people realize that how much time they are consuming. But that content over a period of time would get repetitive. It's any content or any medium of delivery, Sony, over a time gets repetitive because it physically drains and fatigues your mind. So you need to do a switch over between. So all of them would coexist, but the quality of content would continue to be enriched in all sectors.
I really like the comment about McDonald's and fine dining, and Gary's comment to that as well. We can combine them together. So, Gary, let's hear from you. How can we combine McDonald's, fine dining, TikTok, and Netflix?
Yeah. So, I mean, look at where we are, and in terms of Netflix, let's look at what the future holds in terms of entertainment. So Kartik's right on target. This hyper personalized, but there's a next level of the hyper personalization, which is you can actually generate the kind of content, and we have some of those technologies that we've been able to develop, the unsupervised AI. Imagine the situation where you say, Sonny, I want to watch a movie about bicyclists that go around the world, and I'd like to start this off in Singapore. And I'd like to define what this movie is going to look like. And then actually is generated by the artificial intelligence. Literally, those kind of things are now within our grasp. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but let's look at the next 5 years. We're not that far away. So we can define the kind of things that we want to see. But at the same time, we've got challenges. So if you go on Netflix, it's not so easy. You're inundated with the number of shows that are out there. Right, it's just incredible. How do you see all these now? CBS All Access. Here are the shows of movies that are adventure, etc. Crime. But what we have to do is we got to make it a whole lot better in terms of the searching capabilities, hyper personalized for you, and presented for you, based on it predicts what kind of mood you're going to be in at that particular time of the day. Now imagine having those kind of things presented. Hyper search, direct, surgically precise searching capabilities, which don't exist yet. So one is we're just like I say, we're inundated with information. We're in a state of infobesity. The same thing with entertainment. Look at all the channels. There are thousands of channels. I have XM radio right in my car. There's so many channels. It's like I have 5 that I listen to: jazz, spa, some contemporary pop, that kind of classical, but certain types of classical and soundtracks. It's just we're inundated with information, so the searching capability needs to go up a couple of bars. So hyper personalized searching is really important for us. The idea of getting the kind of content, the right content at the right time, at the right price is really important for us. So we need these aggregators. Look at all the other parts of it. So Apple's got the Apple TV, Netflix has it, Amazon Prime. Now we've got all these different data sources. And quite frankly, a lot of them have the same movies, right? Netflix. And the thing about Netflix, it's great. I'm a little bit different than you. If I get into watching something like The Tiger King, unfortunately, since it's episodic, especially ones that are documentary types, I watch the whole thing. I go through it in 2 or 3 days and watch it. So the quality of the content needs to go up too. One of the things with Netflix that's happened over the last year is the quality of the content has gone up. At the same time, we've had the challenges with the pandemic in terms of being able to go in a studio to be able to record. So, I'm really bullish in terms of the types of entertainment that we're going to start to see over the next 2 years, and the capabilities to be able to search better, the user-defined content, using artificial intelligence and supervised AI. That's really the startups that are out there. That is really, really an interesting place to be. So think about it. Applying unsupervised AI to create movies that you want to see. The other thing is, in terms of capabilities, imagine now you can actually place products in any movie you want for that particular individual in the backdrop. So these kind of subliminal suggestions, putting in a box of Cheerios in the back of a kitchen that you're watching on a movie. Imagine the kind of revenue that could be generated. Those capabilities exist. I've seen one of those startups directly. So Then we've got it's not only about Netflix, it's about YouTube. All the folks that are using YouTube out there. And again, the challenge is, being able to search so you get the right video at the right place at the right time. That needs to also change in YouTube. And what I look at is not just the ads that come across the YouTube, but again, having that capability to be able to go in and do that product placement inside of it instead of being, forced that for 30 seconds you're watching an ad that you don't want to see. Why not put it right inside the YouTube video? So that's interesting for me because we're inundated with information. You're inundated with these ads. It gets to a certain point, you don't even want to watch the YouTube videos anymore because you've got these ads coming at you all the time. Let's put them inside. Let's make them more subliminal and make them part of the story.
I totally agree with you. It's very frustrating when you are actually watching something and these ads. I know this is just about this channel. I have an ad running for 15 seconds before you can actually watch the actual thing you wanted to watch.
Exactly.
It's annoying, frustrating.
I mean, the other thing is, imagine, here's another idea. What if we could opt out of seeing the ads there, but then you can get those ads on your phone, for instance? You can have another way to distribute it. Okay, you can opt out here, but there's some other way that you can get those ads conveyed to you. Some other kind of situation. Maybe it's through social media, etc. But you're right. It gets to a point where, if you're like me, you don't want to watch those videos anymore because it's just too many ads. It's like, a third of the video is an ad, and it's not so interesting.
Yeah, and they're too smart as well. I probably would be shopping for something, and immediately I go to YouTube and I see those ads popping up on YouTube.
I just did it with a bike. I've been looking at a new electric bike. I'm inundated with electric bike ads. I get so many of them. It's unbelievable now.
They are everywhere chasing you. Facebook, Insta, whatever social media apps you have, they're everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. I agree.
That's what dynamic retargeting is all about. And of late, Google's algorithms on their home or even Amazon algorithm has worked to such a level that if I discuss about milk with my wife in the house, that milk's run out. The next time I log on to Google, I have a Carrefour ad that shows milk to me. And it's not surprising. This is scary. That means that somebody is always eavesdropping on whatever I converse.
Well, I mean, Kartik, listen, here's the challenge we have, right? We talk about our privacy and security. It's a big thing. But listen, we use Gmail. It's not free.
Yeah.
It's not a free source. They look through it. I mean, and that's how they come up with the kind of things that you want or need. So, I mean, and then, everybody talks about it, including myself, but I got to use Gmail. I don't have a choice. So how many people around the world today, I don't even know what the statistics are, but I mean, in the Western or Eastern world, probably most people have a Gmail account, right? It's amazing. So unfortunately, we want things for free. Now imagine if we didn't have that capability and they started to charge for it, how many less people would be involved. On one side of it, I like it because you get, as I said with the electric bike, are shocks. I just looked at shocks for my SUV and brake pads, right? I rebuilt a car and a truck and I started getting inundated. Honestly, on that side, I liked it because I finally found the ones that I wanted. They did present with a product that I wanted at the right kind of price. So on one side, I like it, but the problem is we want things for free. And if we didn't have the capability to get the ads, we would not have those capabilities. We would not have the Gmails. We would not have Google search. We say, oh, I'm going to search it on Google. Well, every time you search, they know one more thing about you, right? It's like we want it for free, but what are we going to do? Now we're kind of stuck. There's so much content out there. We're inundated with it.
A lot of industries thrive on this. The best example of this, Booking.com and Expedia. Booking.com and Expedia unfortunately, they're a part of the same business. Around 62% of their online booking comes on what we call as third attempt, which necessarily means if I go onto the website and I look for a hotel. The first time I'm going to think everything is too expensive. Let me not think. The second time I would think this is not the right place for me. They chased me and they continue to chase me with retargeting all over. And Booking.com has a dubious distinction of having 47 to 48 retargeting options, which means I just cannot escape them. Wherever I go, whatever I do, they're going to chase me down. And that is how they convert me into a shopper or 3x, 4x multiple. Now, when you have 60% of your revenue coming in from second or third attempt, they're bound to do that. This is where we see the change in the way communication or even the intent to reach to consumers have changed in the e-commerce space. And that's exactly the same thing, even in the digital space. That's how the algorithms work to make sure the media or the content that you see is more or less customized. Look at TikTok's algorithm. The moment I leave a particular content halfway through, it comes back to me with the same artist, same content. If I've seen Sony's content 3 times, I would be inundated with Sony's videos from all the last 10 years content she's updated tomorrow, so as to make sure that she becomes a superstar and her content is built. That's how the algorithms work.
So I agree. I mean, and again, the thing is, we want all these capabilities, but we don't want to pay for them. I remember, when I started off Eva, we started a Google-like search for your personal cloud. So, and because we're all inundated with information on our cloud, the amount of items in our own personal cloud is about 300,000 on average, and it's doubling every year. In 5 years, it'll be 10 million. How many times do you say, I know that file exists, but I can't find it because I've forgotten the keywords or where it's located? Big problem, right? How many times every week do you say, I don't remember getting the message? Where did you send it? Slack, WhatsApp, WeChat, etc. So huge problem. The problem is, when I did that company, people did not want to pay for the search because they're so used to Google giving it for free. They said, well, why should I have to pay for it? It's like, and I'm not going down through. Of course, I could have connected it to the internet, and I could have gone down in a different way instead of the way that I approached it and doing it for real hyper-personalized targeting, right? I could have looked at all the data sources and I could have done super targeting, but I didn't want to do that. Nobody would pay. Right? It's like they didn't want to pay for that search. So the challenge is, you're almost forced to come up with these models that are revenue generating models because people want it for free. They don't understand it's not free, right? It's not free. You're not controlling your data. So anyhow,
YouTube's going through a very serious lawsuit on this in certain parts of Japan and certain parts of Asia, only because YouTube Premium, which is the paid version at around $4, $5 a month, has got just about 1% of YouTube's total users being as converted to subscribers. And now the challenge is, because YouTube knows that certain percentage of people are their premium users or active users, it has increased the intensity of advertising, which what used to be a 1 bumper ad has now become 2 bumper ads and 1 post ad, which necessarily a 37 to 40 seconds of advertisements between 2 songs. Now that is too high for people to go through. And the algorithms are tweaked to such a level that if they want me to become a paid user, they will bombard me with ads till the time I either bail out of YouTube or I buy into YouTube.
Yeah.
Ambush marketing, as Karthik always says. Karthik, okay, on that note, I have got a question. Obviously, due to the lockdown and shutdown and many physical stores, businesses shutting down, don't you think this is the right way the marketers are targeting to help these businesses recoup their lost sales?
Yes and no. While the marketers are trying to reach the customers in this manner, the customers are not ready to be reached in this manner. That's a challenge. I mean, you might want to reach me through any means, but if I'm not ready and you've suddenly occupied what was my social, my personal space with a lot of advertising, at some point of time, either I'm going to be pissed with you and bail out of you, or I would start looking at things very differently, which is what's happened. While I love notifications, I don't like 10 notifications from one advertiser. Zomato disturbs me when at every 12 o'clock in the afternoon it sends me a notification of 50% off. That necessarily is like somebody from the restaurant coming to my door and telling me, sir, we are waiting for you to buy me at 50% off. No, that's going too aggressive onto me. While it's appreciated, but you do not go out market and what has been lost in a year is not going to be recouped in a month's time. Business models are changing, economics are changing. formats are changing. Physical retail is going through a lot of struggle. Online food business is growing, but it cannot be artificially. One person cannot boil an ocean, and Rome cannot be built in a day. Let the consumer also get used to the reality. Today, the consumer is not used to a reality of this time. So, at some point, he's going to like and he's going to romance this for a while. But when it comes to his senses and realizes that this is becoming far too claustrophobic and invading all levels of privacy, he's going to be dissuaded and he will move on to the older routes of doing business.
It's a catch-22 because obviously I have businesses who like to hire a digital marketing marketeer or an agency to reach out to potential clients because they probably are going through big losses. So what are the best practices then in terms of, because the digital marketers have a big responsibility in the space to make that business profitable. Profitable. Just to,
you raise this. I think digital marketing is one of the most misinterpreted words in this entire ecosystem. Everybody thinks digital marketing means making Karthik Bhatt shop or making Gary shop. No, digital marketing necessarily is taking the entire awareness, information, discovery, action cycle from the physical world to an online world. That's about it. In the online world, let me do my own search. In the online world, let me do my entire discovery. Let me build awareness. Let me be a fence sitter for a while. Convert me from a top of the funnel to a middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel seamlessly. Then build in repeats or build in lookalike or referrals into me. Do not bombard me with call to action, which is shop now, shop now, shop now, shop now. Because at some point, I'm not going to shop with you. Let me go to entire content-based discovery. The way I look at offline retail is I look for products, I do discovery, I am going to do awareness, I'm into an intent phase, that, and then I purchase. The same thing happens, which is what a lot of large successful retailers are doing. Using lookbooks, using search engines, SEO technologies, or using a lot of social media to create content which invigorates me and which creates the reason for me to search or look for them. And then at the end, top it up with a call to action which converts me from a fence sitter into a shopper. And that's the route to go into it. Not necessarily continuously create stimuli of offer after offer to make me buy. It doesn't convert me to a shopper. If I don't want a bicycle, even if you give it to me at 50% discount, I'm not going to buy your bicycle. That's how it is.
Very right, very rightly. Before the lockdown or before the pandemic, I would rather go to a shopping mall, be there whole day, and probably buy one particular clothing from a retail store at the end of the day. A lot of moving around. But now they're forcing you to buy something at 50% off. And as rightly said, Karthik. Gary, wanted to ask you something about technologies like AR and VR. So before 2020, we didn't see much adoption of AR and VR in the space of be it gaming or entertainment. But I was just reading an article that this year, 2021, we're going to see real use cases. So what are your insights? What are your thoughts about that, and how this industry is how is that going to shape up both entertainment gaming industry?
Like Karthik was saying, the whole idea of this is we moved into the realm of hyper personalization and developing real experience that you can really feel and that you feel part of. And the difference between what we had and where we are today is finally the convergence of the technology, the artificial intelligence, the technology, the headsets are finally at a level that we can now achieve that realism. And it's one thing about being online and being on a flat screen. It's another thing to feel that you're part of the show, right? Or part of the entertainment or part of the sports. So it's the progression is really that hyper personalization that's taken place to bring us into that experience more. It's like many, many years ago, there was a movie called Tron, right? And
Yeah.
we're moving towards that. There's a blurring between what reality is and what entertainment is. And, it'll be part, as I said, think about it. You're going to have these goggles on. You're going to be in there. You want to be Superman or Superwoman or Supergirl. You're going to be inside of it. You're going to be the one that's flying around. It's going to be that kind of experience. It'll be like going to Disney, but for real, and you're part of a show. So that's really where it is, and it's being driven by this digital transformation. Why? Because there's a lot of money out there to be had. People, their eyeballs are on their sets. We probably have another year and a half of this pandemic, maybe longer, right before we're through it. So it's not over. And the situation, quite frankly, I'm excited about it because these are things that are going to take 10 years that are now being forced because of money, right? It's people want to make money. And so they're saying, hey, let's do it. Let's get the, the headsets out. Let's get it out now while we have all these eyeballs. So I think it's great. Yesterday, I was I'm going to be speaking at Stanford University, and I met one of the other speakers. They've developed this capability. I mean, this is truly interesting. It's a virtual conference center where you literally, your avatar comes into the conference. You sit in a seat, and you're watching a conference, with your headset on, and so it feels like you're really in the conference. Not like it's, there's a speaker in the front. It's like we're doing a StreamYard now, but instead of that, you got the wide audience. You're looking at the viewers, right? And you're speaking on stage. I mean, think about it. It's unbelievable. And you actually walk over to the coffee shop. And I couldn't believe it. And so why is it important? Because when we look at it, this, starts to bridge the gap. So if I'm a university, if I'm a Stanford University, imagine having it set up where the students actually come in a lecture hall and the professor's in front of them like it used to be. And so, I mean, it exists, and they customize it. It takes them about 2 months to customize it for a particular university or company so that you can actually you can really have that experience that you used to have coming onto campus and being in a lecture hall, and you can see the other people that are in the hall with you. And by the way, if they get up, right, if for some reason they turn off, it shows, it alerts the professor that they're not in the lecture hall. So it's interesting. So anyhow, these are the kind of technology that are coming out. It's being driven by the fact that we're online so much, and we need to have deeper experiences. And it's a good thing. This is not bad, because now it takes part of the challenge for education is it's boring, right? And it makes it real.
So talking about these kind of models, as Gary, you rightly said, we do not know how long this pandemic is going to last for. And what if people get used to this whole experience, and what happens to the Walt Disney, the Hollywood studios, how they're going to survive and how they're going to still be making money?
I mean, the thing is, they better do or die, right? They better adapt or die. They're not going to be, that's the challenge. And so they have to think differently. If they want to survive, they got to think differently. People are not going to go in to go to Disney en masse if there's a chance to die. Now, there's going to be an interesting paradoxical effect, right? What I mean is that as people start to get these vaccines, you're going to see, I don't want to see herding mentality, because that's a bad thing these days, but herding mentality. People are going to go out and go to Disney and those places because they've been cooped up so long. They want to get out. You get to a point that, you don't think about the risk. All you care about is the reward. And so what's going to happen is they're going to go en masse to places like that. It's not going to last because people will start getting sick again, but you're going to see this kind of, almost like a stampede, because people are so tired of being home. They're going to do things without thinking about it. And it's interesting. I'm already seeing it. It's already started, with the pandemic. Here we are, a year into it. Can you imagine a year into this thing? So it's incredible. If you'd have told me a year ago, literally a year ago, that I would not have been out to California in a year to my place, I wouldn't have believed you. If you tell me my car would be sitting in a garage in San Jose, California, I wouldn't have believed you a year ago. I would have said, you're crazy, but here we are, right? So you got to adapt or die. That's the thing, adapt or die. So that's part of the reason that these VR and AR headsets are coming in. But imagine if we can do a conference like we're talking about today, where I can actually see people. Imagine having a virtual Disney that I can walk around and start experiencing those rides virtually, right? In an entirely different kind of way. So, the next best thing. So that could be really interesting. Imagine walking around Disney World, going into the spaceship Earth, and having those kind of feelings, close but not exactly there. If I was Disney, I would be thinking about it, and I would be thinking about how I can tie other ways to hyper personalize those experiences. Like I said, entertainment where you're part of the scene. Now have I would have Disney movies where you were part of the a scene AI generated to make it interesting for kids. Maybe short clips, maybe a couple minutes, but make it interesting for them. That's all. You need to engage them.
Yeah.
So, Swami, adding on to what Gary is saying, it's at some point we feel that there is a challenge for a business like Disney coming around, is because you and me have seen both sides of the business, both sides of the world. You've seen the Disney in reality and you've seen Disney in the virtual world. It's like trying to expect today's children to relate to a telephone which was a dial-in telephone with a round dial. My daughter doesn't relate to it. If I talk to her about a telephone which has a cord, she thinks it's absurd. She says, "How can a handphone have a cord?" Because they've never been exposed. So tomorrow's kids, when they're going to be exposed to a Mickey Mouse coming out of a computer and dancing in an AR, VR with 3D lights around them, that's the world that they are used to. So they wouldn't even be able to relate to an idea that they had to go to Mickey Mouse. For them, it's about Mickey Mouse coming to them. That's a perspective. You, all of us are in that cusp of two generations, which is why we always compare about what then versus what now. Nokia couldn't convert, and hence Nokia had to die. It couldn't compete with Apple. It tried 3 times, but it couldn't. BlackBerry couldn't. It had to die. So you either have to perform or you perish, and you move out of the business and create way for somebody else. So if Disney's not able to survive, Warner Brothers already gone online, and Warner Brothers has started creating experiences. The 3D AR studio that Warner has created in the Middle East is an experience of its own self.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
What about the small businesses, Karthik? In India, we had these theaters, these movie halls, open air theaters. How these people are going to survive and pivot? I mean, do you think this is a challenge for these kind of businesses?
Obviously. So before these, see, it's like this. 500 years ago, there were no malls. There were bazaars. Bazaars died, created mandis. Mandis died, created supermarkets. Supermarkets died, created malls. Malls are dying and they're now creating delivery at your doorstep. So it's an evolution of an ecosystem. One would die and they would pick up another means of income for them and move into, and while the industry moves somewhere else, single screen cinemas are any which ways dead after the multiplexes start coming in. So there are hardly very few single screen cinemas alive. It would become a very, I would say, a very, very scarce means of entertainment. But otherwise, entertainments come to our doorstep. So today, with movies coming on the OTT platform, I hardly feel a reason to go to a cinema. Even if the cinema opens tomorrow for the world to go, it's exactly the way. Like if I don't have an occasion for fine dining today, I don't go out to dine. I would rather have my food coming in. So I would not go to a McDonald's. I'll let McDonald's come to me. It allows me that much more indulgence in my space. Businesses would evolve. If one business dies, the other business of delivery and localization or getting my food delivered to my doorstep, centralized kitchens are evolving, which did not exist in the past. So it's a cycle that continues. I mean, it's a Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest. So at some point, it has to step in.
Oh, wow, COVID has done a lot, actually. A lot, big change.
It happens every 100 years. We wouldn't be surprised if another 50, 60 years from now, we would necessarily be talking about a chip that manages the entire human function.
Wow, interesting.
I mean, the other thing is with the drug discovery. I was on a panel a few months ago, and the whole idea of using modeling, AI modeling. By the way, most of the drugs that were developed were using AI for drug discovery because of the reduced bench time. So in another 100 years, it's going to be entirely different because we're going to be able to predict when these things are going to happen, what it is, and stop it before it starts. So it's really interesting of how we're going to evolve. And then imagine having resistance, right? Build-in resistance so you can actually change the the genomes, gene splicing, that kind of thing. So you don't have to worry about it. We're going to change. It's going to happen in 100 years. It'll be there. 100 years we'll be living to 150.
Yeah. Great.
I would look very differently. I look at a change in social structures, Sunny, to a level where pandemic, and I would use it as a very crude example. Gary, you and me have never met, but we have been on conversation on 60 different occasions, on 60 different forums. That's the new social structure that is evolving. And that is what I call change. I wouldn't meet my friends 60 times in a year, but we've met 60 times in a year on an online platform. That is a beauty.
Tell me about it. Bang on to the point. I haven't met my family members. The kind of the times I meet you and Gary.
Yeah. We're like your family now. Come on.
It's a new family. I mean, exactly. That's what I was about to say. But rightly brought out by Karthik. Yes, please carry on.
I mean, that's what's happening, right? There's an intersection between life, right? You get to develop these online relationships everywhere, and we're not limited by borders anymore. We're everywhere. So here we are, right? I'm in Florida right now, Dubai and Singapore. Think about it. I mean, a year and a half ago, that probably wouldn't have happened. Like, I don't know. When I get there, I come to the States once in a while. I come to Dubai or Singapore. Let's get together. And then it never happens, or it's a year from the time you talked about it. Here, it's instantaneous. Oh, let's set up a call. When do you want to do it? How about in 10 minutes? Sure. But that's how our world's changed. And that's why, I've said that, opportunity, intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. What we've done is we've now given those opportunities a more level playing field. It's not 100% yet, but it's way more level than it was a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely bang on. The habits have changed. I'm 10 minutes to a call. Somebody calls me for a coffee. I mean, it's just psychological. Or it's going to be 40 minutes one way and coming back maybe another 1 hour in the traffic. Let's do a Zoom or or WhatsApp video or something like that. So your habits have changed. Sorry, Karthik, you wanted to share something?
I look at this as what we call as, and Star Trek has a very interesting phenomenon. They used to call, they defined a term called wormhole. We're typically on the cusp of a wormhole. On one side of the wormhole is a very strong, unbelievable virtual reality. And in a minute, we are thrown into a real world of supermarkets, roads, traffic. And the next minute, we are in a virtual world engaging with people, thousands of kilometers away. So this is a phenomenon that comes in almost every 150 years. The last time we saw that was just before the Second World War, when the world was going through a new order. And I think we were at an interesting cusp. Businesses, social structures, monetary structures, regulatory structures, government, borders, etc. is going to change after the pandemic. What we're going to face, what we're going to see, something we have not seen. So rather than predicting and rather trying to forecast, I would rather prefer to enjoy the way the journey goes and be a part of it. That's the way I would look at it.
Absolutely. Enjoy the moment. I mean, so people say that after the pandemic, I'm going to do this, I'm going to travel here, I'm going to travel there. No, enjoy the moment. That's what exactly I agree with you, Karthik. So yes, so let's take some closing remarks before we wrap up the show. Karthik, let's start with you, the closing remarks for the show.
So, like I said, the industry is a sunrise industry. It's going to evolve, and it's going to evolve into a direction that we're not sure where it is, but it's definitely going to evolve in three different pivots. It's going to evolve from the content point of view, from the technology point of view, and from the regionalization point of view. And I think there's going to be a lot of space for startups to come in and at various levels of the game. They need not aim for the top of the pyramid. They start at the bottom of the pyramid and slowly build the pyramid as they grow. That's how I would look at it.
I saw this State Bank of India thing on the front. I really don't understand what that is. Oh, okay, there's a news. Sorry, State Bank of India.
I thought maybe you got promoted or something here. I thought that's you.
I have nothing to
news, live, real-time news. Woo! To look. They're using. State Bank of India is going to use blockchain solution. That's interesting. Got my eyes. Thank you so much for sharing that. Gary, over to you with the closing remarks.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is an unprecedented time. a lot of things have changed across the board in entertainment. I mean, we are in a state of hyper-personalization and artificial intelligence, how to make that experience more real for each and every one of us. And we've been driven to that by this digital transformation. This had to take place instead of 10 years, as McKinsey said, in a matter of months. We've had to move forward. So I'm very bullish about where we are and the resilience of humanity. And we've learned some lessons. We learned a lot more about compassion and the simple things in life that are important to us. Spending time with your family, dogs, where I mean, look at the number of people that have pets compared to before. It's, we want to have that comfort and those kind of close feelings. So it's a great opportunity, and the startups are out there. I've given you some good ideas today. So get out there and work on them. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter or Gary@gsdvs.com. I'd love to hear from you, and get out there and get them. It's a great time, and think about the glass as half full, not half empty.
Great closing remarks, Gary. Again, startups, as Gary emphasized, please take those points into consideration, and please do come and pitch on VCTV. Again, investors, speakers who like to share space with Karthik, Gary, and the investors we have, please reach out to us, and we are more than happy to have you. Our investor community is growing by the day as we speak. Thank you so much for being a part of VCTV family. I mean, this is what keeps VCTV going as well, and I'm happy to be a part of this as well. Just journey we started last year in February and still continuing. And I was on Gary's show yesterday. I made a connection.
Yeah, that was great. I got good feedback.
Yes, awesome. It was great, and we switched roles, so it was amazing. Nice to make new friends and family on VCTV. So yeah, we wrap up the show, and I'm back again tomorrow on another episode of VCTV on another new topic with new set of speakers. Till then, keep watching VCTV and take care of yourself and be happy. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.